I actually brought on a whiplash injury without a car accident on my right side of my left shoulder because of the tension, the anxiety of the whole situation. I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be more debt than my salary. But then got like too into the need to have to code switch that actually my authenticity started to dampen. I was consistently the black token and the woman, the black woman. I mean, tick two boxes there.
Yes, literally the diversity and inclusivity. Tick tick. Yeah.
So there was a lot of shame that came with debt, and there was so much shame when it comes around debt. Who do you desire to be in terms of the type of person, the identity that you want to live? Not now. We're really considering, your highest version of yourself. That identity. Who do you desire to be, and how do you and look at ways how you can operate it like her every single day.
Hello and welcome to Not Another Money Podcast. Why is it called Not Another Money Podcast, you may be wondering? It's because this is not your typical money show. Get ready for real money conversations and lessons, expert insights from some of our very special guests, and hear some really inspiring stories from everyday people. On this podcast, you're going to learn how to earn more, how to spend less, how to grow the difference, and most importantly, live your best financial life. Hi, Cleo.
Hi, I'm here, and I meet you in person, finally.
I know, I'm so glad to finally meet you in person, and finally get you on the show. I've been following your journey for many, many years now, so it's so good to finally have you on the show and meet you in person. So no, thanks for honouring the invitation and coming down.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you. Okay, so for the purpose of the audience listening and don't know who Cleo is and what you do, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Yes, so I'm Cleo Matlou. I'm born and bred in Leicester, so you'll hear a little bit of the twang of the accent. But then went down to London to study and was there for like 13 years. I'm finance by trade, so I've always loved numbers. That's always been my thing, maths. And then moved into studying finance and accounting, become an accountant, worked in the corporate world with big chip companies, doing accounting, and got bored of it. Then I was just like, I'm going to go do something else, but numbers just tend to find me, spreadsheets tend to find me. Yeah. So I was just like, you know what, let's embrace that. It's just, one of the things that I'm, my zone of genius. And then how do I incorporate that in terms of the things that I do enjoy? And then that's when I embarked in terms of naturally being somebody who was good with finances and offline mentor for many people, friends, family and stuff, who I would support in terms of getting a better understanding of the grasp of their money. And then that's just how it started, not knowing that's something that I unconsciously or consciously was speaking about a lot. And then I thought, yeah, actually, that's something that I could probably shift and actually become a business. I just thought, everybody knew, but actually a lot didn't. And I was like, there's a great opportunity there for me to create a positive impact for people. So yeah, that's how it came about in terms of starting the business as an educator, but then moved into money mindset. We can probably talk more as to why, but yeah, that's who I am. I'm a mum, got 2 kids, 2 and 5, crazy ages. Tell
me about it. Yes. Oh my gosh.
I'm running on about 4 hours sleep, but that's fine. It's good. It's good for 4 hours straight. So yeah, that's just the norm. But no, I wouldn't change a thing. I absolutely love this stage. It's challenging. It is.
It is fun, isn't it? Yeah. It's hard, but it's great. It's like a job that you don't get a break from, but it's amazing, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Exactly. So no, thank you for introducing yourself and telling us about what it is that you do. We're gonna definitely dive more into your story and more into the work that you do as a money mindset coach. But before we dive deep into your story and all the good stuff about money mindset, what I like to do with my guests is a little bit of an icebreaker at the beginning, just to warm us up a little bit and get to know each other a little bit. It's a game of Would You Rather, and it's the money edition. So I'm gonna give you some options, and you're just gonna tell me whether you would rather A or B, right? And you can't change your mind.
Okay, fine.
Yeah? Okay, good. So the first question is, would you rather save for retirement aggressively and sacrifice some of your present day comforts, or enjoy life to the fullest now and then you can deal with retirement later?
B.
Okay, why?
Because you can't take your money with you. When it's your last day. And as much as I'm such an advocate in terms of retirement and things like that, like for me to honor my true self and to enjoy my children, the people that I love, that for me is more purposeful and more impactful. So if it meant that I lived a life on purpose for a purpose, which then meant that I'd have to be creative in terms of my retirement, that would be more fulfilling for me. Yes, there will be a low level anxiety, so I wouldn't recommend living like that. There will always be a low level anxiety, thinking, oh, what am I going to be able to do? At the same time, there'll be a level of trust that I'll just have to really get into, in knowing that it will figure itself out because of the work of living my purpose and my dreams to support women the way that I do, and have that ripple effect over generations. So for me to wake up and feel purposeful and fulfilled is way more important to me than thinking how much, like, I've got tons of money in the bank. I mean, like, why? For what reason? Do you know what I mean? If it means that I'm only living to put the money aside.
Yeah, I heard that. And to be honest, I thought you'd go with that answer, but I just wanted you to expand on it a little bit because it's very much in line with your teachings and your way of thinking. So no, thank you. The next one: would you rather have unlimited money but never feel truly content, or live comfortably within your means but feel fulfilled and happy every day?
Already answered it. B.
B,
absolutely.
yeah. Based on your answer for A, for the first one, and you would go with B as well again. Okay, the next one: would you rather earn a great income doing something you're not passionate about, or make a modest income doing something you absolutely love?
I've been through this journey, so it's B again. Yeah, which we can talk about a bit more. But yes, absolutely, I've done both.
Okay, so this is even based on real life experience. Okay, and you'd rather do B, which is make a modest income but do something you absolutely love. And again, I had a feeling you'd go with that answer. That's the one I would have gone with as well, because there's nothing like it, is there?
Yeah, exactly.
Doing something that feels purposeful and true to your core. So that's good. Okay, so the next one: would you rather make a huge financial gain from a risky investment but you could potentially lose it all, or make a modest financial gain from a safe investment but never have the thrill of the big wins?
A.
Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
Bit of a risk taker.
Yeah, I am. And I think that has served me and not served me in certain ways, and I feel absolutely fine in acceptance with it. The vulnerability hangover from the shame of having times where the risk hasn't materialized has been something that I've had to overcome, and with the work that I do, it's something that I are very intentional in doing. But again, it's like, for me, it's kind of to live life, and it's so long as that I know that I'll be okay to function and have that money and have that I don't lose everything.
Yes.
In my mind, when you ask that question, it's like, it's money that I'm okay to lose. So it was never my money in the first place.
Yes, exactly.
So I'll hedge my bets and go for the riskiest opportunity, knowing that I still have a roof over my head.
Yes, exactly. It's not an all or nothing type of thing. Okay, brilliant. And then the last one then: would you rather be able to change one major financial mistake from your past, but it means also losing the lessons that you've learned, or keep your past mistakes but gain even more wisdom from them?
That's life experience B. Like, Women About Finance would not exist if I had the mistakes that I had in the past. Absolutely.
Amazing. Yeah, I definitely would go with B as well. Absolutely, because I wouldn't be who I am and where I am if I hadn't gone through the mistakes I made. So I see every L as a lesson. So brilliant. Okay, so the next part of the show then, thanks for playing, by the way, that's the end of that segment.
I love that.
Would you rather? Yeah, good. No, good. Thanks for being a good sport. So the next stage we like to do, or next segment rather, is a game. It's not really a game actually, it's more a section called Not Another Money Moment. So where I invite my guests to share a significant money moment from their past. So it could be from childhood, adulthood, a significant money moment that's had an impact on you in terms of how you view money, how you manage money, or your relationship with money in any way. Yeah.
So the biggest one that came into my mind is in adulthood.
Okay.
Which brought on the 30k debt that I got, which was pretty much overnight. Yeah, it was one of the risks that hedged your bets, stretched yourself too far, and then it was buying a property.
Okay.
And just came out of university, so not much money. I'm trying to £26,000 worth of debt, of 29,000 salary, and got an opportunity to buy a house with my partner, now husband, and we just stretched ourselves far too much, too far, and being creative of how we could get the money for our deposit and things like that, because we went with our hearts rather than our hearts and minds, rather than mind rather than the heart, knowing that we was probably stretching ourselves a bit too much, but all the excitement of becoming a property owner, and also my history, working class background, lived in the council house all my life, that's just something that I was going to be a massive achievement that wasn't able to be succeeded. It wasn't succeeded in the generation before me. So it was always a goal that I really wanted, but we just completely just went in so blindly, and we had to obviously foot the bill in terms of like they need the deposit in order for us to fill the rest of the deposit in order for us to be able to get the house.
So what was the urgency for that particular house? Was it like just a really good opportunity in terms of the price of the property?
Good price and good place, good area, and we just loved it. And it was just the idea of being property owners. We got more wrapped up of being property owners. I was at the age of 24, of being a property owner. So it was just like, oh wow, I've been able to, smash that goal so early and things like that. Got wrapped up in that far more than actual being more realistic and pragmatic about the decision. And 30 grand just like that, just to be able to get into the property, and that's not with the mortgage. That's on top of that. So that was a very rude awakening of, okay, it's all well and good wanting this property, but actually now your life is completely to pay off this property. There was no real wiggle room of anything else, and I was like, this is not life. Okay, it's great to sit on a property owner for what just for people to say to people, and then I'm not living the life as a 24-year-old. But it was too late. I was already in it. I was already in it, so it was just like, I had to suck it up. Now 12 years later, as hard as it was, I felt invincible out of it, because I got myself out of it pretty quickly as well. Well, pretty quickly, considering I was on £29,000 salary, just under 3 years. And it just made me feel invincible. So in terms of like, oh my God, I weathered the storm and was able to actually achieve that and manage that myself, and still for a short period of time not really have much of a life, but be able to actually create a life for myself. And it's a story that, as much as it was so challenging at the time and feeling a bit of my life being robbed at the time, I equally wouldn't change it, because I wouldn't have been able to share the success at the end of it and be able to say that I have what I have now, because I did take that audacious step, albeit probably a bit reckless, but at the same time it has benefited me significantly.
That's amazing. That's an incredible story, and we're definitely going to pick that apart, not pick it apart, but dive into it a lot more during this conversation. And that is a significant money moment, definitely. And mine is very similar, not far off actually. Ours was £36,000 worth of debt, based on us buying our first property and over leveraging ourselves at that time, and having this big master plan, similar to you said you had, as to how we were going to be able to pay this all off. And it just didn't work out according to plan, so we ended up having to pay it back ourselves. So very much synergy in terms of our debt story. So thank you for sharing that money moment. And like I said, we will go into that a little bit more later on in the conversation, but I guess just before we go deeply into the debt stuff, let's go a little bit back to hear a bit more about your story. So a younger Cleo, like what life was like for you growing up, and your earlier childhood money experiences and stories. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
So as I briefly shared, my parents live in the council house, still live in the council house to this day, working class, hand to mouth, that was basically it. They did the absolute best that they had and the means that they had. We had some luxuries, like my dad was massive in tech, so we always seemed to have the latest computer. Like, we was the first ones to have a computer, or first ones to have a laptop, but then not much else around it, so to speak. But they did the best that they could with the means that they have, and I'm so grateful in terms of that. One of the things though that I always noticed, which was really, really interesting as I look back, and I don't know where I got this mentality, but I always recognized that money was everywhere, even though it wasn't in the household. And I say that, but actually my grandma, my paternal grandma, my dad's mum, she was a wildly fierce, independent, strong black woman, who did not rely on anybody for anything, and managed to, create great success within her own means. So she was a very key figure in my life in terms of what life gets to look like. There is a great service of what she gave me, and also there's lessons that I've learned from the way of living like that. But it did serve me for a number of years right into my adulthood, of seeing her as a model in terms of money and how you can strive and hustle your way through and be able to, I had 3 jobs by the time I was like 14, and it was just like natural. It was just normal for me to always have more than one income. It's always been like it's like I twitch if there's just one income. That for me, it doesn't make any sense. I've always had that mentality. I've never liked to just solely rely on one income.
And that's from your grandma's influence.
Even though she did have it always appeared that she had one job, but there was always little things, something coming in. You would never really know what they are, but she was always very good and very creative. So my money story is definitely from experiencing, seeing the challenges that my parents went through, and and in some parts wanting to buy a house, but just felt there was knockbacks after knockbacks. See my dad always being overlooked from promotions because of being a black man. That was very, very, very obvious. And the anger that I saw from that perspective, the powerlessness of even thinking of a woman being able to go up in the ranks, because my grandma was used to, she was a cleaner in hotels, and witnessing women in my life that you could see they had all the either academic or just the will, the skill and knowledge, but just be always overlooked was just something that was fire and belly of just absolutely no way is that going to happen for me, and it's certainly not going to be as part of my children's comes generation. Like, it's got to stop somewhere. Amazing. So I've always had like this really curious an interest of recognizing just how different males and females are treated, and black males and black females are treated in the world. So yeah, that was and always doing something towards that. So whether it is in corporate, when I was a youth worker, just doing something to kind of like bring awareness of it, and whether it was being black or whether being a woman or being a black woman, there's always something that I've always been quite drawn to that space, which I thought was really important to at least be part of that conversation.
That's so interesting that you were like that, because other people would have similar experiences but not think that I need to do something about it, right? So what was it about you that made you see that and see yourself as the person that needs to make a change in this area?
I think it was just the injustice of seeing such great talent and such great people being overlooked and overseen. And during that time of life, much better now, I was always more of a voice for others than myself. So being a massive advocate to help and support people to do better for themselves, probably wouldn't listen to my own advice in a lot of that. But for me, in that phase of life, that was enough, and that was the fulfillment that I know was enough for me at the time. That's my own relationship with money. That's my own, setbacks and drawbacks and beliefs of myself that I wasn't ready yet to actually delve into. So I like doing youth work and just seeing like children who used to come into the youth centre were children that were on the breadline, that were didn't have the opportunity of being overseen, probably the kids that will go in isolation or whatever, things like that. And it's just like, no, there is far better for you than what you're seeing, and actually this part of it is just to play the game, to get yourself through the system, because the system's broken for people like you and I, but there's ways that you can leverage on it to do better for yourself.
Like what? Like what kind of things?
So whatever, seeing what you're interested in and be able to actually monetize from it.
Okay.
So a lot of the time the default would be music or dancing or things like, acting and things like that. But it's actually like seeing there's greater things that you can do beyond that. You can do both. And I think that's where we forget in this world as well. There's polarity. We're not an either or. We can be multifaceted people that can actually explore different things and be able to hold that space. And we can choose to change our mind, which also is something that's like, oh, you can change your mind. Yes, you can, because you choose what you do in A levels, you choose what you do in GCSEs, you choose what you do in university, and that is it. Your life is what it is for the rest of your life. In some practices, in some industries, it can be like that, like doctors, lawyers and things like that, because there's a very clear leading path of where you go with those things. But also there's doctors that also decide not to do it. I mean, it wasn't named Raspreet Singh, who's a massive financial educator.
To today, actually, on the podcast.
Who was, studying to be a doctor and decided to change his trajectory because there was more purpose greater than what he was going. We are set too much to just thinking we have to find the way, and that is it. That's our life set. And it's just educating that we can do different, we can do more. It wasn't never so much in terms of money around that time, because I was still trying to figure it out myself. But yeah, definitely in terms of people being bigger and greater than what they can only see. You only can see based on what your own environment is, and there's a greater world than that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Are you the firstborn by any chance in terms of
firstborn
children?
Of everything?
Okay, that explains a lot. The
lot.
Because I do feel like there's something in firstborns that you have this audaciousness that other siblings don't tend to have. It's that natural born leader.
Yeah. Shout out to my eldest daughters.
Yeah, no, seriously, it is a thing. Like, I always notice that same pattern in anybody that I speak to that speaks the way you speak. It's like, oh yeah, are you the eldest? Yeah. 9 out of 10 times they usually are the firstborn. Yeah. Or they're the secondborn, but the firstborn basically isn't responsible enough to take that position. So they've taken it kind of by default. Yeah. Yeah. So no, that's incredible. And what I've noticed from what you're saying is that pattern of you working with people is something that you're very passionate about, regardless. It's a thread throughout from childhood, working in the youth centre, and then the work you do now. Yeah, it's all about people and getting the most and the best out of people. So no, that's incredible. And talk to us a little bit then about your career. So you mentioned at the beginning that you worked in finance for, I think it's 15 years that you were in finance for in total. Years, What made you pursue that career in finance? I guess you said numbers have always followed you, right? So
totally honest, I didn't have a Scooby-Doo in terms of how you apply for university, what to do in university, how to choose or anything, what university to even choose, like just nothing. And it was at the youth centre where one of my colleagues was like, oh, my brother goes to Brunel. And go, oh, okay, I'm going to go see Brunel, the only university I went to see, because someone told me about Brunel. And I had another friend who says, oh, yeah, I went to Brunel too. Okay, that's 2 people. I'm just going to go to Brunel. Oh, what do I do? Well, you like numbers? Yeah. Economics, what's that? I don't know. Oh, it sounds interesting. I'm going to do, and it's got finance in there. Business, not really done. Okay, I'll do economics, business, finance. That was it. That was how I chose, because I was just like, I'm going to do something. Yeah. I have no idea what I want to do, but I'm not buying to it. Yeah. And I was very, like I was saying to you, I took that principle on myself. Like it's not the rest of my life. I've chosen this, and I chose economics, business, finance because it sounded quite broad. Okay. So then I could go to different avenues. First year, hated it. Didn't like economics, macroeconomics. So that
oh my gosh, flashbacks.
Did not like it at all. So then you could split to be more specific, and finance and accounting was one that suited me the most, and then that's where I went. Also, I said to myself, because I was very much into acting, and everyone around me thought that was just the trajectory I was going to go, but I was like, I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be poor. I'm chasing the money. I was just like, I will not change my childhood. At the same time, I don't want to still live in that poverty. And how many actors live their life in poverty before they make some form of big break or make money, have to be in coffee shops until, you know, nothing absolutely wrong in terms of doing that. I just like I just don't want to do the struggle anymore. I just like, I'm just gonna go to a place where it's going to be more guaranteed, a direction that's more guaranteed, that I'm going to earn a decent income, and that I won't have to be in that level of struggle anymore. I was not ready for it anymore. I just wanted something new, so that's why I moved into the money. Moved into finance and accounting.
So the passion was performance drama, but you put the financial gain over the passion for that season. That makes sense. And no regrets with that decision or anything like that?
Not regrets. I would have, I feel that financial advising would have been better suited to my personality, because there's more
financial advisor.
There's more connection with people in that way.
Yes, true.
And I just didn't know what that even was at the time. I had no idea. Where accounting is more back of house and less interactive with people. So in terms of what would have been suited my personality in that finance and accounting space, I think finance and advising would have been a more fulfilling journey for me. And I actually remember talking about this like in my very first finance job to one of the directors, but he very, looking back for his own gain, he deterred me away from that.
Like, you don't want to do that.
But actually, you know, it's definitely something that would have been more suited to my personality. But I just didn't know, and that's again the reason why I am where I am and having this conversation with you, because it's like these things just need to be common knowledge and well known of what that even is.
Exactly. No, it's so true. And your story seems so similar to my story in terms of being at college and thinking, okay, I need to go to university, because it wasn't optional in my house. University was happening. But it's like, what am I going to actually study at uni? I had no idea. Based on my A levels, I was like, okay, I enjoy marketing out of all the modules. Maybe I can do that. And one of my friends was applying to Aston University to do marketing. So I was like, I didn't even know you could do that as a solo degree without having to do all the other modules. I was like, okay, fine. And I'll just apply for that and go there. And I remember actually the careers advisor telling me not to apply for that course because I wouldn't get the grades. And I was like, excuse me, I'm going to apply anyway and take my chance. And I did end up getting into the university, so thank God I didn't listen to her, because she was like, nah, I don't think you should apply to there. I was like, why? She's like, look at your, because based on my AS results, she was like, you're not going to get the grades needed. But I was like, okay, but let me try. I still got 4 other or 5 other, I think it was, choices that you can put on there. But don't let these people deter you.
I had the same. Really? Oh my God, my mum, she bumped into that same teacher like a year later. She said perfect. The way my chest was high, and I told him straight about that. She got into Boona because he's like, well, I should go to like, you should put in a more lower bar at university. Oh my God, Mum, it was sweet. She said it was so sweet seeing his face. Never seen him again, but
it's so good that she got to let him know.
Yeah, the universe just brought her that point together to just tell him about himself. Yeah, she honestly, to this day she was talking about that.
Good. How I'm glad that she got to tell him, because I think it's so bad that they do things like that. Because thankfully I didn't listen to her. And I think the only reason why I didn't listen to her is because one of my good friends was going to the university. And I was like, no, I want to go. She's going. And so I just ignored her and made the application. But I could have just as easily been like, oh, okay, you think I shouldn't apply there? Okay, fine, I'll go elsewhere. So exactly. To those of you listening, like, don't let anyone tell you what you can or cannot do, because they don't know. No. Oh, back to your career in finance actually. So you did that for 15 years.
Yeah.
What was some of the highlights, would you say, of your time working in finance? Anything that stands out that you enjoyed particularly in that time?
I do like there's a bit of the corporate kind of, I can't explain it. There's parts of being in corporate that I did enjoy. Okay. In terms of, not competitive, but I think just the feel of being in a big office surrounded by all sorts of, all walks of life of people, doing different things, and the collaboration of working with others. Like there's so much of life that I learned through being in the corporate space.
Yeah.
Of meeting what's of life that I probably would never have been able to. So that part I always liked, and that's probably how it is in probably a lot of jobs. But I think I was in like big multi-billion pound companies, so you'll just get people globally always come into like the main head office as and stuff quite a lot. And I think it was just fascinating in terms of how people portray themselves, and kind of like this code switching like that is needed. Like it was very fascinating for me at first, but then got too into the need to have to code switch that actually my authenticity started to dampen. And I hadn't quite realised that because I got into the rat race of chasing the money.
Yes.
And chasing the titles, and doing the thing, the need to be seen, to be doing, to get which there's massive lessons that I've learned from that, which has been quite fascinating to reflect on and to see how I've managed to navigate and actually take the lessons from that into where I am now. So that's the parts that I did like. The things that I didn't really like is I was consistently the black token and the woman, the black woman. I mean, tick two boxes there.
Yes, literally the diversity and inclusivity. Tick tick. Yeah,
of being the person of being shoved into positions that way just to hit the quota, which was then me being overseen with promotions, because it was kind of like, oh, I'm the quota, but not the person that came as brought in as terms of succession. And the discrimination that I got quite a lot. Very, very subtle microaggressions that were just very hard to articulate and to pinpoint.
Can you give any example of what they look like?
I got one of my good friends to actually come do a summer intern report into me to do some work, because we just had like a surge of work that we had over the summer, and she needed some work, so I managed to get her in. And she's white, she's very pretty, very slim, and there was certain things that I could see that could get improvements within the company, and would talk about it quite a lot, and it just like was completely disregarded, didn't want to hear it. And I said to her, look, I've been wanting to do this, and we talked about it. She said, yeah, that sounds really, really good. I said, you tell my manager that this is what your idea was. Instantly it was implemented.
No.
And she was junior.
Someone that you just brought in as an intern?
Yeah. No. Yeah, she'd just finished university, and I was quite, more seasoned in my job.
Wow.
And because she brought it, said it was an excellent idea, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, it just came from a different mouth. It literally came from a different mouth.
Did you end up raising that, or did you just leave it?
I just then made sure that I just worked actively to come out of that team.
Yes.
Because it's more to do with them than me, and those things, especially back then, probably more so. It'd be in some companies be considered as something to raise, especially got like speak ups and stuff like that, to be able to call in when there's those things happening. But those sort of things back then just weren't taken into consideration of discrimination. So
not even to escalate it, but I guess just to bring it to the manager's awareness of the fact that this is the same thing I said. But I guess sometimes you just got to think about it.
I did that too many times, and I just thought, fine.
And she's clearly not listening to you. She can't hear you or see you.
I just had to just be grateful that what I could see was the opportunity was being implemented.
And that in itself is incredible about you. Like, again, it just shows firstborn syndrome, because it's like, someone like me, I would keep that to myself then. Clearly, you don't want to fix this issue, so I'm not going to share it. And you can continue just doing it the way you're doing it. I wouldn't have pushed for it to be implemented, even if I can see it something that's going to benefit the wider organisation. For the very fact that you're just ignoring me when I'm saying it, then that's it, then you miss out on it. So the fact that you were still so insistent of insistent about getting it implemented. It shows your character.
Yeah, one of my core beliefs is positive impact.
Yeah,
you know,
that.
And it's just always something that I always seek to have is positive impact. And yeah, I'm okay with conflict so long as it's conflict to bring resolve. And I could be a bit of a dog to the bone for that, if I'm quite honest.
Yeah.
Because if I see if it is going to create a positive impact, then unless someone can correct me otherwise, I'm not really stopping.
It needs to happen. No, I love that. Absolutely love that. It's amazing. Okay, so then you touched on it briefly at the beginning about, well, not briefly actually, you shared your debt story at the beginning, how you managed to get into £30,000 worth of debt, right? Just going back to that time then, what was it like for you, or how did you feel in that moment, in that time, in that season, when you were in that debt emotionally, I guess? How was it emotionally, mentally?
Emotionally, I actually brought on a whiplash injury without a car accident on my right side of my shoulder, because of the tension, the anxiety of the whole situation. I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be more debt than my salary, like physically and emotionally, completely like turned me upside up, especially being someone who was so diligent with her money, so like good with saving, so good with, you know, making practical decisions with my money, and being proud to say that I never really had to go to my parents, because number one, they didn't really have it, but I knew that was not a factor that I could even think about and consider. So there was a lot of shame that came with debt, and there was so much shame when it comes around debt, of being in debt, like whatever type of debt it is, just being in debt. Well, mortgage is always considered as acceptable, but that type of debt was just always something that was a massive no. So it was really hard to feel like I compromised my identity and my values to be in that situation. And then figuring out how the hell is this, how am I going to get back to zero again? And having to like have one of the rooms rented out immediately, or just knowing that if we didn't get somebody in there, don't know how we're going to make the first payment. You know, everything was just super, super, super intense. So yeah, it did affect me considerably, just because the fear of people having a property is the level of responsibility anyway of having something like a property, and having to be having to answer to a bank and to ensure that you are making your monthly payments, and having to maintain a premises that if something breaks, but it's all you. You know, like the boiler didn't work the first week we got in. It was just like, I don't have a penny.
Oh my gosh.
You know, just those sort of things, like the level of responsibility in itself of having to come to terms with, of having a property in your name anyway, is already a lot. And then having to figure out how the hell are you going to keep yourself above water was a very, very tough time. The first year was considerably tough.
Okay, so this property that you bought then was more of an investment property than a residential property?
No, we did live in it.
Oh, you lived there, so you had a lodger in?
Yeah, we had a lodger. Okay, to make sure that we at least could make the bills.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, so then talk us through the journey to achieve that debt freedom then, because you said you paid it off quite quickly, considering the income.
And I was 24, not great income. So side hustle immediately, you know, maths tutoring. So I'm great at maths, let's do it, you know. Wow. Love.
And you'd never done teaching before?
No.
But suddenly you just picked up that side hustle. Amazing.
Yeah, and that's what I really delved into, and then changed job. Well, I took again another very calculated risk. It was a contract, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to take this contract.
How long was the contract for?
It was contract to turn to perm, so it was 6 months. Okay. Well, it was 6 months of contracting, and I had to just take the leap and trust and faith.
From a permanent role
take the trust and faith that it will turn to permanent. So I knew I had to go and prove myself and work to make sure that they would see that. So I left a permanent job, and that was a £13,000 increase, which was substantial.
Oh, wow.
but with the level of risk that I could be gone in a week.
Of course, because contractors they can let you go anytime.
Exactly. So again, a calculated risk I had to really think about to see whether it was something that I could take, and I was just like, yeah, it's worth taking, because the company that it's in, I can network and seek out opportunities, put my name out there to then, hopefully find a good permanent role that is aligned to what I'm looking for. And that's what I did, and managed to get a permanent role in time for when the 6 months had finished.
Wow, so that was a big risk, but
and I was there for 5.5 years afterwards, and went to about 3 different roles after that.
Amazing.
So it was a risk that paid off quite well. So I managed to the biggest thing I did was live still on the salary that I had before the increase, and then also the side hustles and stuff. So my main mentality was, if I wanted to enjoy the good life, I had to go out and earn it. I would change that kind of that language now, but that's how I did it. It's just my salary had to pay the bills, and if the bills and the debt, that would completely clear it. And then if I wanted the dinners and the holidays, then I had to go out and earn it.
Wow. So did that look like the maths tutoring and things like that? Okay. So in addition to the day job, you were side hustling to do the additional things that you wanted to do. But you said that you wouldn't do that now. You changed the language slightly. How would you change it differently now?
Because it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, because that means that I had to do quite a lot of hours a week to ensure that I could keep up a full-time job, because I'm making the money, but then also I need the time to actually to spend the money the way that I want to, by going to the dinners, by going to the holidays, So there was so much juggling that I had to. Yes, it was an era when I didn't have any kids, but me and burnout were in bed with each other all the time, and it was just completely normal to be operating at high stress cortisol level, which is just not healthy for us in the long run. I think sometimes there is pockets of life where you will potentially have to do that, given your circumstances. I didn't have to go that hard.
Okay.
I really didn't need to go that hard, because the repercussions was, always leaving myself completely empty. Which I just wouldn't recommend to do. And I think if it means extending the timeline a little bit, because that gives you wiggle room and breathing space, I think that's is in the long run so much healthier for you, because we have to think about the knock-on effect of what we're doing to our bodies. May not see the impact now, but it does catch up with you, because the body never lies. It holds the score, and it will remember the times of the stress, and will do as well as it can to contain it for you to operate, but it has to come out at some point. It has to. It stores it, and it has to come out in some way, and sometimes that will become quite unfavourable.
Okay, that's good. That is really good. And it's interesting what you said in terms of not paying it off as quickly. If you could do it again, you wouldn't pay it off as quickly as you did, so you'd kind of take your time, so maybe enjoy some of the things that you enjoy, as well as still paying off the debt. So maybe 80% towards the debt and 20% towards enjoyment, as opposed to putting it all towards
from the outside. It was like I was handling it and managing it all, absolutely. And I was to a certain degree, but it was these cycles of burnout just made it. I made them the norm, which is just not for me. I just wouldn't go with that route anymore.
Okay, so if I was a person now giving you a call and saying I'm in £15,000 worth of debt and I want to pay it off, what would your advice be to me? Like, how would you, the steps that you'd say I should take, what would you say? Would you still advise on getting that second job and maybe doing that role switch to get the extra salary?
I think there's a lot of factors. I think ultimately is like, who do you desire to be? Who do you desire to be in terms of the type of person, the identity that you want to live? Not now. We're really considering, your highest version of yourself, that identity. Who do you desire to be, and how do you, and look at ways how you can operate like her every single day. And if that means that you're that compromising yourself in different ways because it means that you're not able to be that identity, then actually probably it will take you longer, because you will find yourself, you know, maybe splurging or things like that. Like I had like groundbreaking discipline to get out of it, and not many people would do that, but by trying to be too restrictive can actually have the opposite effect of you wanting to clear the debt. So I always start with who you are first, the identity of who you desire to be as a wealthy woman in this world, and then working back from that, and seeing the things that you're okay to let go and compromise on, or have a common ground in knowing that I enjoy. I'm going to park that because for the greater good and the greater vision, that I'm okay to not be doing so much of that, knowing that will be something that I'll do later. Or it'd be a case of, actually, I don't really want to change much in terms of my lifestyle, and getting to a level of acceptance that if that's absolutely fine, and there's no judgment, shame or guilt of him feeling that way, it's, let's look at the worst case scenario, which is keeping things as they are, and seeing and looking at a debt strategy that works for you to see how long it's going to take. That's the worst case scenario. Today is the worst case scenario, because you are going to raise your income. You are going to find other opportunities to have more income. If you want to keep your lifestyles consistent, those increases in income will pay off that debt, and you've got to honor that to yourself, that is going to be the strategy. Or you want to be aggressive because there are other things that you want to move on to, but you've got to be in great level of self-acceptance that that's the way that you're going to do it. So I'm not saying it's not the right thing to do. I'm saying, me personally, I would not do that again. But I think it's different for everybody, depending on what your the highest vision and mission, not your motivation, but your highest mission and vision for yourself, and then working backwards from that to see what the steps you need to do to take to get there.
I guess what I'm hearing you say is that it's not one size fits all.
No.
So it's not a case of, follow this 10-step plan to achieve debt freedom and then you can live your best life afterwards. It's like, actually, what does the future me look like, and what decisions am I making today that's going to impact that future me, and I will make my decisions based on
that.
Okay,
absolutely. And I think that's where sometimes people, and that's why I'm not always going to be for everybody who works for me, because people want that blueprint and those steps. I'm not that girl. There's plenty of other people and other financial educators, coaches, mentors that will provide that to you. I'm not that person. I'm the person that will create your own financial blueprint that is unique and bespoke to you. Even if you're not in close proximity, do the best that you can be able to know how to structure that yourself. So then you're making your own money rules. You are making your own money non-negotiables, and you're aligning everything to what your value and beliefs are. And the beliefs that don't serve you will get, you challenge and you find new ones, and you get more alignment in terms of the type of person that you want to become, because everyone's different. And I think that's what is challenging in sometimes in very transactional like finances, in believing that it has to be a 10-step journey, where actually we forget about the emotional piece into it, where you could follow somebody's 10 steps and that could work for a number of people but might not work for you, because you're just wired differently. So you've got to look at a way that's different but still aligned and still feels good for you to get to the same destination.
No, that totally makes sense, actually. And as you're explaining it, I'm like, okay, that does make sense. So for me, the 10-step framework worked, and it helped me to pay off debt, and that's kind of how I educate my audience. But actually, I like what you're saying in terms of looking at people as individuals, because what I'm saying will work for a certain person that's, I guess, like me, whereas we're not all like me, right? We're all different, and we all have our different money beliefs, our background. There's so many things that contribute to the way we see and manage money. So we can't, I guess, have a one size fits all.
And that's why I love there's so many of us now. So many of us now. Because it aligns to people in different ways.
Exactly.
And the right educator, the coach, mentor in the finance space will resonate with the right person, depending on the person, what the person's needs and desires are. Because there isn't in every strategy works.
Exactly.
I want to say every single strategy works. Like, there's not a single one that doesn't. It is, does it work for you? That's it.
Yeah.
Does it work for you? That's it.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's really good. So then that kind of leads us a nice segue into the next part of the conversation, which is the main theme about what it is that you do now. So obviously you was in finance for 15 years as a financial accountant. You then went on to have your 2 beautiful children and decided to move into a different space, but still within finance. So talk to us a little bit about the work that you currently do.
Yeah, so I started that as the financial education piece and educating people how to do budgets and about saving and debt strategies. And I just noticed as I was speaking to people that you're just going to do this for like 3 months and then it's just going to go to the waistline. And that, again, positive impact does not work for me, you know. I was like, no, there's something that is missing. There's a piece of the puzzle that is missing here. And that's when money mindset, mindset in general, fixed and scarcity started to come into my path. And then looking and seeking of certification as a financial coach. And that's when I realized that my intuitive gut was saying that there's more than just the transactions, because that's what I've always been taught in terms of an accountant.
It's money. It's money. It's just physical, tangible.
Yeah, exactly. It's credits and debits. It's in and out. Having said that, you know, the best relationships I had in corporate were when I was able to make money come to life and tell a story of numbers. So I kind of knew there was a bit of emotional impact, but I did emotional, psychological kind of connection, but I never really articulated it until I realised actually we do need to look at how people think, feel and behave around money. And that's when I decided to get certified as a financial coach, and then that was it. It just absolutely kicked the doors open for me, and just so much enlightened me from that space.
Talk to us about what you learned what the financial coaching taught you that you didn't know before. So
it was the thoughts, feelings, behaviors and your belief system of 0 to 7. Your childhood beliefs are set, your money beliefs are set, and when you're 0 to 7 you don't know the difference of true and untrue. So if you were told something about money, then you've made a decision at that tender age of having no idea really of the land of the world, of if it's true or not, even if it is absolutely nonsensical. But you know, we live with those into our adulthood because we never get an opportunity to actually challenge them, because it's just what we know. So it's not people's fault that if they're in a space where they have beliefs around money, that actually is not doing themselves a favour. You've just never been in a space to be able to actually challenge them. So that's when the guilt, the shame and the judgment of like, why can't I just be this or do it this way or do it that way? So it's just because you've been wired, you've got a wiring to say this is how it should be done, even though you can see it doesn't serve you, but unconsciously you're unaware of where that belief has come from, and to actually challenge it, or what the belief even is, to a certain extent, that is holding you back from actually making more sound financial decisions for yourself. And that's what really, really fascinated me, is that there's a lot of unconscious beliefs that we have, and also conditioning, especially being a woman, especially being a Black woman, societal, economical, cultural, religious conditioning that has been imposed on us into believing what money should be, even though there is this little voice in your head that's saying, actually I really would like to do this, or would like to explore this, but it doesn't feel safe. And it doesn't feel safe because of the conditioning that you've experienced and the beliefs that has been instilled into you from a young child. Now I say this in a level of awareness. There isn't any fault, there isn't any blaming of that your parents or whoever your caregivers are were wrong in terms of what they taught you. They only knew what they knew with the tools that they had and the exposure that they had too. So it's recognizing that even though we may hadn't had the best guidance when it comes to money, or even talking about it at all, if that's your experience, it's just that we now have a level of responsibility as adults to choose something differently in order for us to come to at least get curious of what the blocks are, and then choose a different path for yourself if that's something that you can really see the identity of the person you want to be. But there is all these steps that are, these blocks that just keep holding you back. Then that's the invitation for you to just allow yourself to just open up a little bit, widen it in terms of what is going on there that's making me go, it's not safe for me to go there. And that's what I learned. That's what I learned, to be able to, in a very safe, very very carefully facilitated way, to be able to help people navigate through that journey.
Okay, so then talk to us a little bit about these money beliefs that you're talking about in terms of the limiting beliefs that so many people currently struggle and face. Just so that I guess
so I will talk about it from a profile of a woman and a profile as a black woman. Okay, because I know that's different. Absolutely. Okay. Being that I assume that your audience is around that demographic. So from a woman perspective, a lot of the conditioning around money, is it okay for women to even have money and have a lot of it, and to have a lot of it that is more than their male counterparts. And there is this belief that if a woman is successful, that she didn't do it off her own back, that she had to sleep herself up to the top, that she had to be I don't know if I can swear, but bitch, and not be a woman's woman to get the money that she has, or she just had like a rich man that just kind of gave her that leg up. Now, that example there in terms of getting the leg up, I see nothing wrong with that. But there's also that's where this hyper independence comes from, of not feeling it's okay to say that I've got where I've got because I did have the support. I think there's also a bit of snobbery around that, and
the whole self-made concept.
People latch onto that self-made concept, which I think there's nothing wrong that if you did get a bit of a leg up, that's absolutely fine. That's a privileged position that you're in, and that's amazing. That's good for you in terms of that actually happening. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I just wanted to make that open that up, because I do hear how, especially if people who have the opportunity to have their parents give them a deposit or contribute to the deposit and stuff like that, actually feel quite shameful and feel guilty because their circle or friends don't have that luxury, so they actually feel quite embarrassed, which is bizarre. Embarrassed to say, oh, actually I did get support, and worried that they'll change the dynamic. So it's the conditioning, that's what I'm talking about, the conditioning of being able to own that, what your current position is and what you strive to be, and everything in between. And we are in a very new era of women having money, because just over 50 years ago, women had to have it signed off by a male in their life to say they can even have a bank account, to be able to actually get credit. Like, they had to have a man to approve that they could have it. So liberation of women is so new when it comes to having money. So we are like the one of the first generations that are in a place of wanting to own that right to say that we are wealthy women, because it's never been something that's been of reach. I'm not saying never, but it's been very, very far and few women that have been able to grasp that opportunity. And now it's out for the out for the masses to be able to have that, but there's still the conditioning that it's not safe for a woman to be able to be in that position because it's going to be a threat to the patriarchy, and that even woman to woman, that there would be speculation of whether you actually earned it and earned it and able to actually be in that position. So there's all that conditioning, which is just absolute nonsense. But this is all the stories that I hear from women that I've had myself, that I can't be that woman who wants to have her own empire and to be able to make and create money and multiply my money through investments and stock markets. Like, let's not even talk about women learning how to invest. The bottom line is women have always been actually great with money, because, you know, whilst very traditionally the man will go out and she will stay at home and she will be the one that will manage the money, you know, and great savers, but women have just never been in a position to know how to actually multiply that money and be wealthy through investment and assets. So it's all those beliefs to impact from, even just from a conditioning perspective, religiously, again, you know, keeping yourself small so you don't make your husband feel inferior of you. We've already talked about societal, in terms of if you become more high earner to your friends or have more opportunity and money to your friends, how that dynamic is going to change. Those things don't really happen to a certain degree in men's space, in male spaces, a little bit, but to be fair, you can have a group of men that can be of all different all different salaries, and it won't affect them too much, where it can possibly for in a woman's space, and it's like, how do you actually navigate and deal with that? So there's so much conditioning when it comes to that, you know, in regards to women having to of wanting to unpack, and especially if you come from humble beginnings, because the guilt, one of the things I had massive guilt on, is that how much I could earn, how much my mum was earning in a month, I was earning in a few days. And it was just like having to wrap my head around that my mum has to work all them hours to do something that it only takes me a few days to do, and having to sit well and be okay with that and not feel the guilt around that. It's quite a massive thing to also to come to terms with, and not a lot of people actually think of that, but actually it is quite challenging. And in that era, I was like, this doesn't feel safe for me to hold all this money, so I'm just going to spend it, or just any opportunity to like get rid of the money, because it was just like I hadn't earned it. I haven't earned it, because conditioning is that exchanging your time for money is the way to show that you get money, and to show that you earn it. And my mum's earned that money because she took a whole month to do it. I only took a few days, so therefore the rest of it I didn't earn it, because it took me less time. It's just wild. There's just so many conditions, so many levels of conditioning that we have that we don't consider as to why you can't save on a monthly basis, or why the debt doesn't shift, or the idea of investing just feels so out of reach. All that stuff, all that baggage is behind, you know, in inherently within us, that we just don't realise why it's holding us back. That's why it's causing
that block.
Yeah, exactly.
And then quickly, do you want to touch on in terms of black women then?
Yes.
You said that there's another layer to that. Oh my God,
yeah. So from black women, you know, black tax, and dare you even show just a little bit that you earn just a little bit more than everybody else, it's like everyone will be beating down your door for that money. You know, like, you know, that's the perception, that's the thought, that then if you're earning that money, then that means that you have to carry everybody with you, and everybody who you can't be enjoying your life over here while this is happening over there. So you're having to fill that gap. So if a white woman's earning 100k and you're earning 100k, it ain't the same 100k, because you ain't seen all that 100k, because in your mind, and the guilt of you being successful, you're feeling like you're having to pay it back.
It's good.
And that is a massive block for women, because I went to a summit, with Madeleine McQueen, and there was talking about, it was Harvey Lansdowne. They were talking about, you know, investing and how women need to invest and blah blah blah, and they are white women who represent. But one of the questions I asked was like, you know, it's all well and good, but that extra money that we have, especially in a room of black women, there is this obligation sometimes that we can't be investing in ourselves because the investment is to pay to people who don't have it, and other family members. So that's just a massive block for black women to be able to say, I can own the right to want to be wealthy and to be investing in myself so that my future self will thank me. But this level of lack of safety of that, the more that you invest in yourself, the gap just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger of you and the family and the friends that you inadvertently feel like you're leaving behind, and then being ostracized from the pack, from the tribe, because you're different. That a lot of that can be sometimes all within our mind, and then there's a level of truth to it as well. But it's knowing how to navigate those difficult conversations and situations in order for you to be, you know, self-defining and living authentically as the person that you really want to become. And then culturally, it's like, well, am I trying to act like the Western women because that's where I'm getting the teachings from? Am I losing my, you know, culture by trying to be like this when actually this is my culture and this is what I should be doing? I have to say, none of it's right or wrong, because if you desire that's your purpose, that's what you want to do, then that's absolutely fine. But it's being in a level of acceptance and know where you stand of that, and then operating from that place. So there's just so many layers. I could go on about this topic. There's so many layers that black women do face when it comes to being able to feel fulfilled and feel they can focus on the money in the way they want to, and to say that they want a hell of a lot of money without being unapologetic about it.
No, that's good. And as you're speaking, it reminded me of my story of my first business, and I think I was very similar to what you're talking about in terms of self-sabotaging because of the fear of success. And I remember having this conversation with a friend before, and she didn't get it, but I was like, no, I know what I'm talking about. But for me, the business was growing so much that it almost seemed like beyond me. It was like the thought of me having something so big scared me, and I didn't think I was capable of doing it. So it was like I had to kind of scale back and just run away and hide, because it was just too much. I was like, there's no way. And because, going back to what you said as well, it seemed almost too easy. I just had this idea, I started this business, and all of a sudden everyone wants to book me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this happening? And it kind of went beyond what I had planned, because I just had some little idea that I was just going to do and make a little bit of extra money. I never anticipated the growth that it would experience. And rather than running with it like most entrepreneurs would, I just kind of shut the whole thing down and ran away and hid. So I could definitely relate to what you were saying.
Absolutely, but it's not your fault. It's the thoughts, feelings and behaviours that sit behind the success that were just undealt with, not dealt with. And there's a massive calibration which people, again, fail to see, is that there is some calibration of every time you go for a different income bracket, is calibrating of being that type of person who can hold the capacity of that kind of money. Because you have what we all don't realize unconsciously, we have a top line number that we have in our head that we can only be, and then anything else that's of excess we get rid of. But we have to stretch ourselves to the next baseline for us to feel safe enough to be able to have that type of money and be able to hold it.
And how do you do that?
Like, it's addressing the beliefs, because the conditioning is what's telling you that it's not safe for you to be able to hold that level of money.
So then how do we address those beliefs, like, practically?
I think one of the things that I love as in terms of practical step is we bash ourselves with our financial mistakes a lot. And that's a good place of sabotage that we just like to say, because I got in 30k worth of debt, then I'm a shameful person to be in that type of debt. So I don't deserve having anything else because I did that to myself. And it's being able to actually do these steps, which I'll share with you, in terms of like overcoming the fact that you are not your debt. Like, I am not dead. That's the shame talking. But it's actually, it's like, it's an experience, a situation that has happened, but it's not me. It's just circumstantial. And I can overcome that because it's not part of my identity. We tend to make our mistakes part of our identity and saying, this is who I am because I made that mistake, and that's shame talking. So what I always do with a fun activity, it can bring up a lot. So you need to take your time in terms of it. I would say, like, just have a very quiet time where you want to face some of these mistakes that you have, to really rewrite what the story is that you have in your mind with it. So just like 2-sided paper of I think four columns. The first column, in 2 minutes, you're not overthinking it, write all your financial mistakes. Every single one. Write every single financial mistake that comes into your mind that you have done. You know,
you're gonna need more than one page for that.
But yeah, just keep writing. Just put a timer. Don't overthink it. Just write all of them, and it can bring up a lot of feeling because, like, the shame that is riddled, the judgment, the guilt. You are literally going to be doing all that to yourself. But it's just you, yourself, and I. So, you know, give so much self-compassion to yourself. Then the next one, which people always forget, and what we've talked about, but a lot of often people overlook, is what's the lesson? What's the lesson from that mistake? And it's like, oh, okay, I can take away something from this, as opposed to making it something that I can never overcome. So it really helps to see the lesson of the mistake that you've made, to then turn it into something positive. So we write all the lessons of each, which can be feeling so liberating, because that already starting to diminish that you are the mistake, because there is something you can gain out of it. Yes, it's happened, but I can gain something out of that. And then how do you bring that forward? It's like, what action can you take that will ensure, if this was to happen again, that you'll be able to say, I can learn from I'm not going to go there because this is the action I'm going to take. And then you write down the actions that you can take from that lesson. So to again embed even deeper that you are being proactive of it happening again, rather than being reactive. And just putting actions in terms of place, and then affirm something different. So that this is when affirmations come into great use. Picking them from the air, not having an alignment to what they are to you, is where that actually can have the reverse effect, because it's like, you say, I'm a wealthy woman, so I'm not a wealthy woman. I'm lying, you know. But actually having an affirmation from a journey of like, this was the mistake, this is what I've learned, this is the action I'm going to take to be proactive for that not to happen again. I'm going to affirm that's my new reality. So that's the new story now.
That's amazing.
That's the new story. So now you've at least, from a mindset perspective, rewritten your money story of you being the financial mistake that you've said you are.
Okay, no, that's really good. So let's take it one step further then. Let's put an example in that 4-step plan. So yeah, you can give me the example actually.
I'm my mistake of having 30 grand in debt. The lesson that I've learned from that is to be a lot better of taking calculated risks, and observe what is the purpose of me making that decision. So is it from a ego perspective, or is it something that's going to be is powerfully going to be aligned to who I desire to be? And it was desired to be, but it was made from a place of ego. And it's like, okay, that's not, I know that lesson, that I can make better decisions from a place of being more intrinsically aligned, rather than thinking extrinsically. I'm a property owner, so I'm gonna do it extrinsically so I can be seen that I am one.
Title. Okay.
Yeah. So, but actually, you know, what is it going to have to take? What's the lesson? It's going to stretch me too much. So no, that's not an aligned fit for me. So then what? Yeah. So what's the action? Is to have that assessment in my mind. Am I wanting to make this decision for external accolades, or is this something that's going to be internal for me, that's probably may not make any sense to anybody, but absolutely feels great for me? Then that's the right decision. So if I'm making financial decisions, it's got to feel good for me. The incentive and the drive is for me, not for anybody else.
Yeah.
And that's the action, to check in with myself in terms of that. And then the affirmation is, I am not my debt.
Good.
I'm not my debt.
No, that's really good. It's so powerful. No, I love that. And I think that's going to be very, very useful to those listening in, so that they can literally, from this conversation, think of practical steps that they can start taking from now to kind of shift that money mindset. And I think it is, from what you're saying, a lot of it is the sitting with yourself and actually having these dialogues. So even if it's writing it all down and jotting down the experiences that you've had with money and the thoughts you have around money, and just really unpacking it. Because I think a lot of things we do in autopilot without necessarily considering the source and why we are the way we are, we think the way we are. Because a lot of times we don't realize there's more behind a lot of our actions than just, I'm just a bad shopper, or I'm bad with money, or I'm just an impulse shopper. Actually, there's a lot more behind it.
Yeah,
so no.
It's root cause analysis for those project management management titles. But it's root cause analysis. It's literally, what is the root cause of this behavior repeating again and again and again and again. And when you find that root cause, it's like, oh my God, blind spot burst. Then the floodgates open. Oh, okay. This is why I keep getting myself in this debt cycle, because this is the root cause. This is what I believe. Oh no, I believe something different now.
Yes,
I choose to believe something different. And then you just incrementally keep taking steps every single day to ensure that you embed that belief now.
So good. Really, really good, Cleo. Thank you so much. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much more I wanted to ask you about. There's so much more. I need to get you on for part 2, because this has been so good.
I love it.
I'm conscious of the time, and I'm conscious that you've got places to be. And we don't want to make the episode too long, but it's been such an incredible conversation. Before you go then, can I just ask you to share any final tips or advice, or any words for the listeners, in terms of people right now that are listening and thinking, my money mindset, I don't even know what that is. I don't think I can ever change it. And I know we've been saying steps that you can take to overcome it, but there's still some people that it's going to take a bit more to push them into actually taking action. Any words that you have to speak to them?
You know what? I think the best activator is to do the strategy first, and then see what emotions come up.
Okay.
And every time there's like a oh God, just write that emotion. You know, and you may be able to plow through it. You may be able to push through it, which if you observe yourself pushing through doing the strategy, like a money plan, or calculating all your debt, or starting to put an automated saving, like, just be aware of the feeling that you're experiencing. That I think is just the very first step in your financial journey, in trying to start to be curious in terms of your feeling, your emotions, your behavior of money. Because we can, like you said, we can very much go on autopilot and numb ourselves of actually what's truly happening behind the money. But if you just honor yourself in just saying, I am feeling this when I even think about calculating all my debt, or even thinking about starting my savings, or even exploring investing, or even thinking about having a budget, like, just be aware of what the feeling is you're feeling. Observe and write it down. Just observe it. And I am feeling this to do X, Y, and Z when it comes to money. And that alone is very revealing. Very, very revealing. And sometimes, like, what? I feel what? Or some of them, it's like, I don't get it. But it's just having that level of awareness. And the ones that you're just like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Then you can already, that sometimes it's like, oh my God, did I just say that? That didn't make any sense. Like, but I have been believing that and I didn't realize, you know? So there's some quick wins there. And then there's some that probably just need a little bit more, like a little bit of exploration. Yeah.
No, amazing. It's really, really, really useful. Thank you so much, Cleo. Before you go then, final things, what can people expect from you? What's next for Cleo? Tell us, in fact, we didn't even get to dive into what you do in terms of Women About Finance, but tell us a little bit about Women About Finance and how they can get in touch with you.
So I'm currently working the season of life that I'm in. I'm going to be really, really honest. I've got a 2-year-old and 5-year-old. Like I said, it's a different era, different world. So I am limiting my services to mainly more one-to-ones, more bespoke. And I do occasionally do some workshops. So the best thing for you to be to know what is going on in the world of Win About Finance. I'm actually Cleo _ Matlou on Instagram now. But if you want to find out more, it's better to be emailing, subscribing to my email. So then if there's any workshops or any short 6-week programs that I will be doing occasionally, you'll get to know through that space. But I do VIP days, so it's my mindset and strategy, and then 4 weeks implementation to get alignment with the action plan that we make together, and then a 1-to-1 6-month program to like really have an overhaul of financial health and wealth and everything in between in terms of emotions, behaviors and habits with money.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. And we will link everything, of course, in the show notes and the description, and yeah, people could definitely contact you and book you. Yes. So no, thank you so much, Cleo, for your time today. It's been an absolutely incredible conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I came. And part 2, absolutely, if you guys want it,
let us know in the comments. Exactly, let me know in the comment section, thumbs up, and we'll definitely try and get a part 2, because this was absolutely groundbreaking, and I feel like there's so much more to go. I
could keep going on. So if you want it, bring it.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you.